My mom is getting feisty because she was told not to drive to her follow-up appointment tomorrow, and she's wanting to drive there herself anyway. Which, is not just an issue of her safety, it's an issue of everyone's safety.
And he actually, his family took away his driving privileges this last summer.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, because there were too many big yellow paint marks on the side of his truck. And the bumpers didn't have much more dent left in them. And it's really sad because he's a brilliant man, brilliant mind, sharp as a tack, but he has macular degeneration in one eye and cataracts in the other. So he sees shade, and he's good with that, but it's the other people that we have to worry about.
Yeah.
Anything cool and interesting happening up there, Mike?
Apparently there's a fireball in the sky this afternoon.
Really?
Yeah, it was on the news. Apparently from like Michigan across to New York, you could see this fireball, and apparently you were able to hear a sonic boom. But we had like 40, 50 mile an hour winds here, so I don't know which was the wind and which was the sonic boom.
I heard there was flurries today. I was inside all day, and I didn't see anything as I looked out, but I must have been like into what I was doing.
Well, officially we had 3-point-something inches of snow.
Wow. Better you than us.
It doesn't look like it though. There was a light coating on my driveway, so I'm 2 miles from the airport where they officially measure it. So I'm not sure how they officially measure it, but it's probably by the same people that were my students who felt they should have passed the class the first time.
Could be. How many weather forecasters do you have coming through the class?
I had one this summer. Yeah. I recognized the name when I saw the roster. I'm like, I was talking to Ron. I'm like, Ron, where do I know this name from? I'm like, oh yeah, he's that guy on that channel. So we had a lot of fun. His off-camera personality is very different than his on-camera personality.
Doesn't that make you wonder about them?
Kind of, sort of. It's almost like he's playing a role on TV, so he has to fit what people expect. He struck me as a lot more intelligent in person.
Whereas I'm the exact opposite.
Huh. I'll have to ask Ron about that one. Is he here yet?
No. Keith, where are you from? You're familiar, but I'm not clicking.
I'm outside of Boston, Massachusetts.
Outside, that's a big state.
I live in Wilmington, Mass.
Okay.
I teach out in Acton or in Tingsboro from Mass Motorcycle School.
I'm familiar with Acton. I used to be at Fort Devens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're on the backside of Devens.
Yep. And Air Pizza and Sub, best I've ever had, I think.
Yeah, that's the other side of Devens from where we teach. Mm-hmm. We're on a lower level. It gets interesting because the state police do their defensive driving classes there. And then you get the New England sports car guys in there. So you get the noise and the screeching from that. When it was in full bloom, pre 9/11, we'd be out there and gliders would be coming out over the treetops and then over the range. And, your first couple of times you duck. Seeing them come over. But we also get, you have wildlife that's running around out there. The hedgehogs are all over the place. I've had a deer walk across the range in the middle of an exercise. So, yeah. See, John Sears just joined. He's over there with us a lot. Hi, John. You're muted, John.
I'm sorry.
But no snow yet out here. No snow at all yet.
You guys are supposed to get it next week. Apparently you got a nice nor'easter headed your way.
Yeah, this weekend is supposed to get ugly with a lot of rain. We got a lot of rain last weekend, almost 2 inches of rain in some areas. So, but yeah, Mass Motorcycle School is done for the year out here. Now it's just I've actually been home for 2 days after having a COVID test yesterday. Got my results this morning and negative again, but my 5th go around with testing. I'm in public transit, so I get exposed a lot. Let me put it that way.
Sorry to hear that, but good that you are testing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's actually, this last one was triggered. I was in a meeting with my manager, who found out over Thanksgiving that he tested positive. So he called me right away, and which was fine. He called me right away and spent 4 hours in line yesterday to get tested. So, but negative again. Negative again. So
Spoke of it before. My son's been tested like 6 or 7 times because he worked with food service at a campus or university, and so he wouldn't even have the results back, and he'd have the next one scheduled.
Yeah, we've been pretty good about it. Plus, with the COVID Family Medical Leave Act, when that first showed up, we had 16 out of 68 drivers go out. So there's a lot of overtime. But it is what it is. Donald, where are you?
I'm in New York State, in a little town called Sugarloaf. It's about 10 miles away from West Point.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Green-eyed
Nice
lady.
area through there. Hawks Nest and all that. Nice roads through there.
Good riding.
Yeah. Yeah. Mike, you said your family was from Andover?
Yeah, I grew up in Andover, and then my parents divorced. My father had a house in Wilmington, and actually so did my brother. And then my father retired to Texas in his infinite wisdom.
We were on the North Andover, Route 125 on the North Andover Haverhill line.
Very familiar.
Osgood Landing. We were in there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we had.
Oh, right.
We ran classes there for years and years and years, and then Amazon bought it. And
I actually, somebody you taught with must have mentioned something about it, because I looked it up, and it's right across from a butcher shop I remember going to as a kid. I don't know if it's still there.
Yeah.
But there used to be a butcher shop over there. Yeah, I know right where you're talking.
They're actually called Butcher Boy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's too funny. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, they want to build a 7-story building next to an airport, next to a small commercial airport.
What could go wrong?
No. Well, never mind that. Never mind the helicopter training classes that are in there. But yeah, so they narrowed it down. I think it's going to be 5 stories, and they finally started doing work in there. But yeah, it's a massive building, massive, 17 acres that it's on. If they paid some ridiculous amount of money for it, but
yeah, land in that area is not cheap.
No, but it's, I mean, you have 20 or 30 businesses in there that, now have all had to move because of the almighty dollar, I guess you could look at it that way, but yeah. And what part of New York are you in?
I'm in Western New York, Rochester.
Okay. Yeah.
Came out here for school and just stayed 35 years ago.
Kodak City. Yeah.
Used to be, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Kodak still has a building or two or their name on one or two, but I don't think anybody still works there anymore.
There's a lot of nice roads out that way, though.
As you get down into the southern tier, yeah, there's a lot of fun riding.
Yeah.
Or cross over into Pennsylvania. The mountains in Pennsylvania are a lot of fun.
My brother just moved to Hershey, so I figure in the spring that'll be a ride out that way. Take a jaunt out through there, through Carlisle and Mount Holly Springs and that whole area.
think that's further east than I'm used to. I'd have to look on a map. I suck with geography.
My dad was a civil engineer. You learned how to read a map when you were 5. So most of you folks shut down for the winter now?
Illinois is.
St. Louis were shut down.
Winter projects.
John, is Washington shut down?
No, we're still working.
Chris, Colorado?
We're still open, but we have limited classes. Our temperatures here on the Front Range don't get as cold. Although today was 28 degrees. We didn't have any classes today, but yeah, we'll go every now and again as long as the weather stays halfway moderate.
You got that winter growth going on to make it better, I see.
That is the Army retirement beard coming on strong.
Ah, I had one of those once.
John Davis, you're what, Washington, D.C.?
No, Washington, AC, above California.
That's beautiful. Okay. All right.
Upper left-hand corner.
Yeah. When you get to the water, go north. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you guys doing? Any vintage bikes going to be rebuilt over the winter, or sit back and relax? Do a taste testing on scotches and bourbons, or?
Keith,
I vote for that idea.
Bourbon all the time.
Illinois is going to do maintenance on about 800 motorcycles.
That's me. That's me. It's the race against winter to get the bikes all sorted out. Today was a stay home day because it's crap outside, but I was changing tires yesterday.
There you go.
I thought I saw you a picture of you washing, Lynn. Do you wash them all before you put them away too?
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
take the batteries out, or
Yeah,
tend
I haven't done that yet. I take them out and then tend them. So I've got a cart at home. It's one of those metal utility carts. It's got 3 tiers, and I can fit all my batteries on that and just, move the clips down the line and keep them going that way. So
I used to have one of those in Kentucky, and that it was set up so there were 2 straight pieces of metal, and then when you had red alligator clips and red and black alligator clips, and every one of my batteries would go underneath those rails, and then we had a large trickle charger that would shut off and on, and it would always seek out the lowest charge and keep everything going.
I'm not that sophisticated, but I do have all the terminals pointed the same way. So it's just a clip, 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 move down the row periodically. So my little project now is, the tire change itself doesn't take a lot of time, but it's all the stuff that goes with it, cleaning the chain, cleaning the sprockets, cleaning the bike. And I've been replacing, the Suzuki's have a continuous chain. So I've been putting in a master link so I could just actually take them off and really clean them. So,
Which
each
model,
bike,
Suzuki?
GZs.
Okay.
So each tire change ends up being an adventure. It takes forever. So big pain in the neck. What are you going to do?
Hearing you guys talk about battery maintenance makes me think about how lucky I am with our site. We have permanently installed battery tender leads on every single motorcycle and a battery tender junior for every single motorcycle. My entire fleet is parked with the batteries in them, plugged in right now.
Well, my bikes are in containers, so the whole plug-in thing is not as viable. I do have a generator at the containers, You know, so I
No,
have
I'm
power
lucky
when I
enough
need
to
it.
have a very nice brick building, block building with a lift and electricity and all of that.
We put solar chargers in a bunch of our containers, and they continuously charge batteries that way.
How big is your solar charger?
The ones they've been doing in the central region, they're doing, I think it's either 400 or 600 watt worth of cells, and it's got you can have 2 battery tenders on it with 4 ports each.
Does the snow melt off of solar panels?
Yep.
Just curious. Don't know about that, but we get a lot of snow.
They're angled so it doesn't hang on it, and since they're black, it picks up any heat.
I think the battery bank invention was a Wayne Steele piece of magic. The first time I saw it kind of blew my mind how it was all laid out. But it made so much sense when you have, 300 or 400 bikes to take care of, just alternating the batteries out of those bikes, seems like it takes all year, although it's only a couple days worth of work when you hit it hard.
I've learned that the power screwdriver is a handy tool for removing all the batteries and putting them in, or less pain the next day from screwdrivering.
I'm assuming you still have some carbureted motorcycles. How do you prep your carbs for the winter?
I have a product that I've been using called Pride G, and it's a fuel stabilizer that works well for the ethanol treated gas. I'm using non-ethanol, but I like it better than stable. And it's a little pricey. It's maybe, I don't know, 50, 60 bucks for, a quart maybe. But it goes a long way. It's very concentrated. And I just run that in the bikes all year long. I put it into the gas cans when I fill the tanks. So everything is always treated. And I really don't have issues with things starting up in the spring. I
assume you shut off the fuel valves, but do you drain the bottoms or just let them run dry?
No, I don't even. The gas is all treated, and it lasts the winter. In the spring,
we're the same way. We run, I think we use Marine Stable on our bikes, but all the time. And the only winter prep I do with our motorcycles is plug them into the battery tenders. And then in spring, we fill up tires and start bikes, and it's just fine.
Anyway, I like that particular product. They make a diesel version too, if anyone's looking for a product for their diesel stuff, non-motorcycle things. But we've had very good luck with it. Better than I've had with Stable in the past. So.
Have you ever used Seafoam?
Every now and then I'll throw some into a tank, or something if it's having an issue, but I haven't used it as a stabilizer per se.
Since we're on the topic, does anybody else have other tips for preparing motorcycles for winter storage?
Keep riding. That's my strategy.
Depending on what part of the country you're in, too.
Yeah.
Not much.
I've always wondered how an 80/20 tire will do in the snow. I don't know, between all the electronics on my bike, I think it'd be worth trying once. Between traction control, stability control, ABS, all the other electronic crap on there, it'd be worth trying once.
It's on there for a reason.
Sidecar.
Wouldn't fit in my garage.
Or a good change for the back of a tire of a motorcycle if you can find them.
Bigger garage.
Yeah, I proposed that idea. My wife likes this house though.
My next suggestion may not go over well, so I'll just.
Gutted tires.
That's not what he was gonna say.
I was
Of
going to ask
course
which
it
one
is,
is easier
Don.
to replace.
Let's see, been with the wife for about 35 years, been in the house for about 20 years. So,
Decisions.
and the house is older. It's a good thing she's in the other room, or I'd be getting hit right now.
I won't tell.
Ron will though.
Yeah, Ron's taping everything and taking notes too.
Oh,
When
I forgot
he's
we're
awake, that
recording
is.
this.
Hi, Ron.
Hello, Dennis. What's happening?
Another exciting day. I'm ready to get back in the saddle. My hands healed enough.
Well, I'm afraid you're going to have to wait. Sorry.
Why?
I don't know. Just thought it seemed like the right thing to say.
I appreciate the thought, but you know, Mother Nature cooperates. I will get out and ride the bike.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we finally got some snow today, so we're probably, and some salt, so we're probably pretty well done, aren't we, Mike?
Oddly enough, I went out a couple weeks ago, and out on the west side of town, it looked like up towards Spencerport, it looked like they had dumped salt. Because I went through a couple corners. Like, why is there shiny stuff in the middle of the road? And I think it was salt.
They were practicing for the winter.
Some of the towns end up with such a surplus that, like, come springtime, if it talks about getting cold, they'll just dump salt to use up their reserves. So I got a feeling either they were just preemptively hardening the roads. I mean, dumping salt on the roads.
They don't use salt around here anymore. They use brine.
I hear that stuff's even worse.
Eat your car to pieces. You don't want to be behind a brine truck when they're dropping.
You're talking about the beet juice, right?
No, they use a brine solution. It's a concentrated saltwater solution.
Oh.
And it's kind of like the beet juice stuff, but it's like calcium carbonate and water. And it literally will eat your car, you know, as it hits it.
Chris, how's things in Springfield?
Not bad. It's been one of those weeks. Sitting there at work today thinking, not my circus, not my monkeys, but
Well, we all getting ready over there in Illinois for next year.
yeah, we're starting to get everything going. Plan is to start on time if everything goes.
Well, I'm thinking positive everything will go in both sides of the river.
Did you turn your schedule in with Jeff?
Well, Jeff sent out the schedule already, and you saw that one.
Yeah.
I got the schedule already from Big St. Charles that Dennis sent out, the GM there. So I'm waiting for Illinois to come around, which, you know, that won't be till February or March. And neither will St. Charles Parks, because they've asked me to come back to there.
I've got
Yeah,
calls.
believe it or not, Ron, some people like me to teach at certain locations.
St. Charles Parks, that's a modified range, right? Or is that a full size?
No, that's a full size range. The only drawback to that range is they do not have range aids. So that's
Yeah.
why I get my exercise whether I want to or not. But I need,
They just do single coaches there or do doubles?
well, normally it's double, but during this past year, we did mostly single 6-1, but towards the end of the season, we were putting 2 coaches on with a full class of 12 students, and naturally both of us coaches had to go set all the cones out on a full size range as well as brief the students, do the demos. But when I had a class,
that's not too bad.
Class there in October, late October, I couldn't do demos because that's right after I had surgery. And thankfully, the coach I was teaching with said, "I'll do the demos if you talk." So
yeah, 2 coaches on a full-size range isn't too bad without a range aid. I mean, it can be done.
Yeah, I can. So it's been done. I'm looking forward to next year with a full-size range, full student classes, and the pandemic going by the wayside.
Yeah, they said they're hopefully going to have the vaccine going out here in 2 weeks max, and they said by, I think it was April, that's what I heard on the news, that by April they plan on having 100 million people vaccinated.
That sounds good. Since I'm a senior citizen, I'll be one of the first to get it. You're too young for it, aren't you?
53.
Dennis, don't you got to live in a nursing home to be on the list?
Oh God, that hurt, Laura. Oh God.
No, I'm just saying you're
Christ.
not in a nursing home, so you don't count for being first.
Oh, did Ron put you up to that one?
See, my daughter, she's 17 and she'll get it. She'll be one of the first ones to get it.
Yeah,
she works in a nursing home and she's a healthcare worker.
Well, she will be the first to get it. My daughter's a nurse, so she'll be the first to get it too. One of my daughters is, I should say.
I think we should test it on all the politicians first.
Hey, I agree with you there.
I agree with that.
Then if it's safe, we can take it.
From everybody in DC and all the way down to the state level and local and county. Maybe they'd inject some common sense into them.
That wouldn't happen.
Chris, you and I aren't on a class together at Forest Park, are we?
I don't know.
Let me look. If we do, that's good. I'm just curious. I'm going to pull it up and see.
I know I got a couple of singles later in the season, but
yeah,
I don't know what is on the first part of the season.
I pulled up the schedule now. I'm looking to see just the first part of the season, those full classes. But as you know, towards the end of the season, starting in late August, September on, it's 6 students.
Yeah, I think I got 2 or 3 single classes.
Yeah, so do I. You're right in front of me in teaching. I'm right in front of you in one of them.
So, Mike, you got your schedule all set for next year?
So, yeah, some of them have come out. Yeah.
Never mind.
What's the matter? What's the matter, Mike? You're shaking your head, or is Ron giving you a hard time?
Usually, I know when I'm teaching the class like 3 or 4 days beforehand. I'll get a text or an email saying, "Hey, what are you doing Saturday?" Like, why, Ron? What do you need me to do Saturday?
No, thankfully, Mike, most of the places I teach, and Chris too, even in Illinois, the schedules at the very latest go out by sometime February or March. You know, the ones here in the St. Louis area got schedules already for 2 locations.
Oh, that's pretty cool, eh, Mike? Let you plan ahead a little bit, right?
Hey, Mike, if you can't teach some particular weekend and Ron needs you, give me a call. If I'm available, I could get up there in 24 hours. I might take you up on it, Ron. How's that?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay.
I don't know if he passed the test, Ron.
Well, maybe I couldn't go up. I'm not sure. Based on what Laura said, I might be too old.
Well, no. There's no age discrimination. Trust me. I'm older than you are, remember?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but according to Mike, that would mean Dennis would have to go down to Alabama, then up to Wisconsin, and then across to New York.
Okay. Okay, I'm not sure what I understand about that analogy, but should I even ask? Or did I miss that one?
I think you
Well,
probably
you have to say hi to Belinda.
Yep.
Oh, I can say hi to Belinda? Okay, yeah.
Pick up some boudin.
How are you?
Hi, Belinda.
Sorry, y'all. Sorry, I was dual zooming. I'm cooking and zooming, so I don't have my camera on. So, but yeah, so come see me.
Hey, Ron was talking about you a minute ago.
Oh Lord Jesus, what was I doing? Y'all ain't been sneaking on my ranges, have you? Nah, this
Come on, Belinda. If Laura can cook on screen, you can too.
Yeah, well, Laura also doesn't have a naked child running around, so hopefully, and they can always jump in the screen.
I don't want to edit that one out.
Yeah.
I might have naked other things running around.
There you go. There you go. No, we always kind of jokingly say when we invite people into our home, which I mean, we still do, we say, if you're allergic to dogs, cats, or naked children, don't come, or come medicated at least. And so, because there's usually a child running through the house naked somewhere. So
that's to be expected in Alabama, isn't it?
Exactly. Hey, look, and that's just, and that, hey, I don't even blame it on autism anymore. I just, my girls did the same thing. I told my neighbors, I'm like, look, my kids jump naked on the trampoline. Y'all just have to deal with it. That's why I pay for a privacy fence. And but it's the joys of being a mom. I love it. It's my my first favorite. I always tell my students, my coaching is my second favorite job. Mom being my first.
When they're on motorcycles, you do at least make them wear a helmet, right?
Well, only one. Hey, y'all did see that though. Yeah. Now the little one, he sits like we go up and down the in the cul-de-sac and that's it. But yes, Sabrina wears a full face when she's passenger, and now Miranda will have her own. I'm super excited, y'all. I'm so excited to have a riding buddy. Like, I mean, my husband's the best riding buddy, but I'm excited to ride with my daughter. I really am.
How old's your kids, Belinda?
My oldest will be 20 in January. My middle one is 14, and my youngest is 10.
Okay, you look like you're too young to have kids that old.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sucking up a little bit, so you know, I do that once in a while.
Because he knows he has to go to Alabama before he goes to Wisconsin, before he goes to New York.
Hey, Don, thanks. I appreciate that again.
So why do you why are you having to? So what is coming to Alabama? What is that? Do you have to come and train here before you go and do that, or is that what you're saying?
I commented on the fact earlier that I would go up to New York and teach when Mike couldn't teach when Ron had to ask him. But New York for me is a good 700-800 miles if I'm not mistaken. But Don mentioned the fact I got to go down to Alabama, and I guess to see you, go up to Wisconsin to see Rita before I could go to New York to teach. So I don't get the analogy there. I missed something.
It wasn't Belinda. It was actually Lynn from last week's Happy Hour.
Oh, y'all met Lynn? Did I? Oh, was Lynn on here last week? Did I miss it?
Yeah.
I love Lynn. Lynn's one of my sisters. There, yes. So we went to RiderCoach together.
Yeah, she was talking about how anybody in Alabama can ride a motorcycle. You don't have to be trained. So
yes,
then we
you don't have to go to class.
Yeah, we started talking about reciprocation, and so it was determined that if you start in Alabama, get your license, and then you take the course, you could go to Wisconsin to be certified because there's reciprocity, and then from Wisconsin you can then go to New York because you don't have to worry about all the other stuff. Or something like that, if I remember correctly.
That sounds about accurate. I was trying to keep
how,
up.
Mike got certified to teach in New York?
What's that?
Is that how you got certified to teach in New York, Mike? Because you had to go to Alabama, then Wisconsin?
No, there was something where Ron invites you to some bar. He gets you drunk and has you sign some paperwork. The next thing you know, you're sitting in a prep class.
Okay, is that the kind of class Ron has with instructors? I'm all for that. Just
Something
get an
like
Uber
that.
to go back to the house or to the hotel.
I'm pleading insanity.
Okay, so Dennis,
yes,
almost 13 hours, okay?
To New York?
Yeah, to where we are, yeah.
Okay.
On a
Now,
gold wing?
if I want to do an iron butt, I could possibly do it, but I'm too old for that crap.
That's not even an iron butt.
Huh?
What is that? Probably
You don't know what the
750,
Iron Butt
800?
Association is? Does anybody else know what it is?
Yeah, but that's not.
Of course it is. It's,
How many
13
miles?
hours isn't 1,000 miles.
800, Don.
What?
Just over 800.
Yeah, see, I knew it wasn't an iron butt.
13 hours wouldn't be an iron butt.
No,
Well, it depends on the distance.
you got to be over 1,000.
Yeah, 1,000 miles in 24 hours is iron butt, or what's called a bun burner, if I'm not mistaken. Then there's a higher other levels that you go up higher to do it. I haven't done an iron butt ride in better than 10 years.
Saddle source 1,500 in 36 hours.
Yeah, I haven't done one of them either.
So if you go to Alabama first, then Wisconsin, and then New York, is it long enough?
That's about right.
Google.
Maybe whenever they have another Iris, maybe wherever that might be at in 22, we can do an iron butt to there.
They'll probably just be in Columbus.
Now back to there again, that's only 450 miles for me.
Probably. I don't know, but probably. That's a good place for it.
Well, that's the rumor it was where they were going to go back to, but it depends on where AIM Expo is again in 22, because from what I heard is, I'm not even sure if they're having it in 21.
They are, and it's all virtual.
Oh, it is?
Hey, hey Nicole, what's the deal on the international motorcycle shows? Are they doing those anywhere this year?
They are changing their format, so it's going to be an outdoor event, and they're not releasing dates until I think Friday at noon is when we get to know what the dates are.
And the locations, right, Nicole?
Yeah.
That'll be cool. I think that'll be cool. I think that's a great idea. I mean, it's nice to have places to go to for those of us that have winter and talk about bikes and see all the new bikes and everything. But I think it'd be even cooler or more cool to go to the event itself on your bike and have a better time. Be a nice destination.
Weren't they talking about like Soldier Field for the Chicago IMS?
I hadn't heard where they were thinking of, but that's one of the locations we speculated about, because they've got to have enough parking lot space, and there aren't that many places where they can accomplish that.
I'd like to see them come to New York to Watkins Glen.
Nobody wants to come to New York, Ron.
Knock it off, Don. You're already here.
Like I said, nobody wants to come to New York, Ron.
Watkins Glen would work. That'd be cool. Especially if you get to do a couple laps of the track on demo bikes.
Either that or the State Fairgrounds in Syracuse.
Never been there.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not a state fair kind of person.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking about maybe I have to go down and visit Chuck at the school down there.
Say it again, Don? Say it again, Don?
I said, I'm thinking about I may have to travel south to Chuck, to the school down there.
Where's Chuck? I don't see. Oh, there he is. Hi, Chuck. Never play the name game. Whereabouts in Carolina are you, Chuck?
It's like Hollywood Squares.
Yep.
Just outside Charlotte.
North or south? North Carolina, right?
Charlotte's actually like 2 miles from South Carolina.
Okay. So you're a border.
But I was born in Newark, New York. You know where that's at?
No, I never heard of it, man.
Certainly never been pulled over there, huh, Ron?
It's just like a stone's throw.
Yeah, Palmyra.
Yep.
Williamson. I lived both those places.
Cool.
Hey, Chuck, how's the weather in Carolinas right now?
Oh, it's freezing. It was like down to 48 this morning. It was terrible.
Oh, God.
It was a balmy 48 when I started working on the bikes yesterday. And when I left the range, it was 30. So it was time to pack up.
I'm looking forward to mostly in February in Myrtle Beach.
I hope it's 20 and snowing for you, Dennis.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that thought, and I'm sure Chuck has an idea why I'm going to Myrtle Beach in late February.
It'll still be in like the 50s, won't it?
Yeah. I go to Myrtle Beach late February every year to play golf for a week. 90% of the time, the weather's fabulous, and I see a lot of guys out on bikes during that time. And I'm jealous because I had to drive down to carry the golf clubs.
I've seen golf clubs on a motorcycle, and you've got a gold wing. You could probably fit 3 sets on that thing.
I do, but in the past years, I've taken mine when I drove down. A lot of guys that have me carry their golf clubs, and they give me all the beer I needed for the week I was in Myrtle Beach. So
Do you have a trailer on your bike too? Do you have a trailer on your bike too, Dennis?
No, I do have a trailer. I got a utility trailer. I could actually put the golf clubs in there, so I could actually fit several clubs in there, but don't tell anybody.
I think you just did.
That's a thought. Maybe I could do that next year, February. Take my bike in the trailer, put about 4 or 5 sets of clubs. Give me some beer when I get down there. I'll be good to go. I could just ride with somebody to the golf course every day.
Can you use the bike as a golf cart, or is that like frowned upon?
It's probably frowned upon because I can get, I could go from the first tee all the way back around to the 18th tee in about 10 minutes. Playing around that way, I don't think they'll let me drive the bike on the fairways.
He's got to have those 80/20 tires to do that.
I can't remember the size on the back of the bike, but I think it's about 200. I'm not sure the size, but it could be 80/20.
So one of the guys I ride with has a gold wing, and the only time I've seen him turn around on a dirt road, we're down in the middle of nowhere, and we're going down a muddy dirt hill. He finally said, "I've had enough of trying to go downhill in the mud on a gold wing," so he turned around and went back. But he's done all sorts of off-road stuff on a gold wing, so I know it can be done.
Well, it can be done with making tight turns on a gold wing, but you definitely got to practice it, and I do it all the time. Like with me right now, my wing's been in the garage since mid-October, just before my surgery, and I won't get back on it probably till March. And I'll have to play with it for a while before I get back into the traffic with the crazy drivers.
Should sign up for a BRC skills practice.
Yeah, well, I'll do a BRC2 class the end of March. I'm already signed up for one. I'm teaching that one actually, so I get to practice it then. Jeff gave me that class when I asked him about it.
Ron, do we have any openings in our BRC2s?
Yeah, Mike wants to take one, Ron. He's not answering, is he?
So I've had a couple interesting discussions in the past 3 or 4 days, and many of it was based upon the fact that it seems like people who ride motorcycles or who are involved with motorcycle as an industry or as riders seem to reside in silos. And more importantly, having to do with riders' education, the people who teach people how to be better riders or to be riders from the beginning, seems to be siloed as much, if not more, than everybody else. So the question that keeps bouncing through these conversations is how do we engage more stakeholders in being active or vocal about riders' education. And when I say that, when I'm talking stakeholders, I'm not just talking about people who run the courses. I'm thinking about states, state's programs, licensure programs, manufacturers, motorcycle rights organizations, anybody who could have a positive effect on where we're going with motorcycling. And so I would kind of like to just throw out and hear what everybody thinks would be a great way to start engaging more people. And the reason why I'm asking this question is we do have Abate from Indiana, somebody from Abate from Indiana, and then of course Sirens Motorcycle Club of New York, 2 representatives here that have popped up. So I would like to engage everybody in this conversation. What do you all think? What are your ideas? I'm not going to point at you to talk first, Jason, but I will mention your name.
Well, sir, let's see.
Who are you talking to saying sir?
In all of the OEMs that I've talked to, which admittedly have been a handful, that I get to talk to a representative from the motor company to my east, or whether it is talking to dealer service managers, dealer sales managers from Can-Am and the like. Unfortunately, it all boils down to money. Money seems to be why insurance companies don't buy into what we're doing. Again, back to the things that I read and hear from Dan when he speaks, we all know that what we're doing is we're fighting the good fight, yet there doesn't seem to be anything but anecdotal evidence that says motorcycle training does anything for anybody. But I think as much as I love it, money speaks to the masses. I think if we play this up as a what's in it for you, we would have better buy-in from all parties. I have a darn hard time just getting dealerships involved locally. Of course, they all want to be involved, and they will tell you that, oh, you run a great program, and that's good. Well, as long as they don't have any effort and certainly not any cash invested, they're very for it when you ask them for either of those other 2 things. And if somebody's got a magic sword, silver bullet to get my dealerships there, I'd like to know about it, because the easiest way I can get an arm twisting is to talk to an OEM sales district sales manager, say, hey, you really need to, and those free things like social media advertising from our dealerships, which does not hit all stakeholders by any means, because I like to think of stakeholders starts with anybody that's going to use the traffic space that we're in. But just simple things that are low to no cost. If you have a plan to do it for somebody, you may get good results, but you have to show up with not only the idea, but the legwork, and then show those people how to get it done. And if we are that invested, I think you will get results. But I'm curious to others and what they're seeing. Even working with our DOT, the way I like to say it out loud to Rita often and to others is, you can work as hard as you want to for free. But when you start asking for money, that's when we start to get people going, oh, I'm going to have to think about that. So I suspect that many of the people that chose to be here are doing it and not getting paid a salary to pay attention to anything that certainly would come out of my mouth, but even Don's great ideas. We're all here because we want to be. So I guess you just have to want it. How many people can we get involved to just want it before life gets in the way? Children, bills, other priorities. That's the thing that I think is the biggest problem with myself and breaking into those would-be riders. What are your priorities? Same thing with would-be riders that, we talk about. It's all about choices, priorities. Everybody's got to have the what's in it for me, and for us to tap into that, because that whatever that value is to people seem to be greatly different than what I think the value is for me. So I'm very interested to hear what other people think about that. But how's that to start it off, Don? Was that what you're hoping for?
No, I wanted much more positive news from you, but
I have great positives, but I want to learn that somebody's got to have something to go, hey, if you do this, you will get $500 and an attaboy from this company to take your classes farther.
I don't want to jump in too soon. I have a habit of doing that. But a document that I found this week was the promising practices in motorcycle rider education and licensing, put out by NHTSA in 2005. And in their introduction, it says, effectiveness of rider education on crash reduction is mixed. Several studies have shown that trained riders tend to have fewer crashes, less severe crashes, and overall lower cost of damage resulting from crashes. And so that tells me a lot that, you know, there are people out there that believe in this, and they give resources like Bill Hammer, McDavid Lorman, Mortimer, there's Simpson and Mayhew, all talk about ways to do this, but I don't see people connecting the dots, and that's kind of more of what I'm looking for. When you talk about, go ahead, I see a blue hand.
Hi, my name is Sandra. Yeah, I'm waving.
All right.
Hi, my name is Sandra, and I'm a member of the New York City Motorcycle Advocacy Council. We meet each month with NYPD and Department of Transportation to advocate for motorcycles, and we have a long list of things that we want to work on. And you started with a question of we're not connecting the dots. Why? What is happening? So we start our meeting each month with the city officials in reviewing all the crashes that have taken place in New York City the previous month. And we've come up with a couple of agenda items that we're trying to pursue. It's been quite an uphill battle right now, given the budget crunch that they're anticipating following the COVID pandemic. We've only asked for practice space for motorcyclists in New York City. I'm hoping that if people would practice on their own, that would help. Our big goals are to get the motorcycle training subsidized in New York City because it's $375 here, the long waiting list. You know, we're a small area, the 5 boroughs, and there's pretty much only one school in the city, and the ranges have to be a certain number of miles apart. So you're not overrun with schools here. So we would like for people to have a place to practice. We would like for the training to be subsidized, but we're finding that many municipalities are struggling with the question of whether they want to encourage motorcycle ridership or discourage. There was a time in New York City where it was illegal to ride a motorcycle in Manhattan below a certain downtown area. So they're struggling now with the light alternative vehicles, scooters, you know, the rental systems, and they're sort of ignoring us, but our death rates are going up. So there are a lot of issues here. I want to just put out to this group what I'm finding is the biggest struggle for our group. We're a coalition of motorcyclists who meet with these city officials. The motorcycling community is so diverse by bike type and bike and riding style that for me, who's an urban commuter, I spend all day on the bike. I work for an agency called the Visiting Nurse Service New York, in addition to be a coach, and I ride my bike every day. I white line sometimes. It's safer. It is safer for me. I know much of you is like, no, it can't be possible. But if you look at the Berkeley study and several studies in every country around the world, except for the US, filtering is advised. When you ride all day, every day in an urban environment in all kind of weather, you start to filter. It's just something you do. So I get the big, in New York, you know, we got the big baggers and folks are not riding the same. So the needs and the issues of motorcyclists are very, very different. And the diversity of the community, I find the biggest obstacle to getting any political action accomplished in the city. The one thing that I hope you all can get behind that we're really pushing is free motorcycles during congestion pricing. Motorcycles should be free. If they're going to institute congestion pricing, they should encourage our ridership, right? Free parking in the city, we don't pay for tolls, etc. All right, so that's a lot that I threw out there. We have a lot more on our agenda, and if anybody wants to get involved, let us know. I'm a member of ABATE, I'm a member of every freaking motorcycle organization that there is, pretty much. I just got this patch in the mail. You probably know about that one. So, you know, we do a lot of lobbying and we do a lot of stuff, but you know, people can't, it's harder time to get people behind one issue.
Can I have you spell your name for me, please?
Sandra, last name Fleming, Fleming.
And if you would, please, private message me your email.
Sure.
Thank you. So Sandra brings up something I haven't touched on, but has plagued these conversations lately. And that is when she says diversity of the community, you know, scooters and electric two-wheel devices, powered two-wheel vehicles is now becoming a huge part of a greater community than motorcycle riders. And as they start to regulate within our community for these devices, it may be that that's an add-on to what we will be training. What are your thoughts on that?
Probably not a bad idea, considering some of them are exceptionally capable.
I think you're going to see the demand for that, though, is going to be very regional. I mean, like out where I live, it's mostly rural with a couple of little, you know, pockets of city life, for what passes for city life in upstate New York. You know, having come up here from New York City, it all doesn't seem very city-like to me, but it seems like those things are more of an urban thing.
I will tell you, go ahead, Sandy.
Just want to add one more thing. There's, you know, we have the rebels here in New York City, and they were shut down because there were I think there were 3 to 5 deaths. So they shut Rebel down, kind of voluntary on their part. There's some legislation they're trying to put forth so that so that the city council will be able to regulate these organizations. And I was involved in helping to write Rebel's safety curriculum. The problem is, even though they've set up the free classes for people to participate in, they can't get them filled. So I know when my classes, my MSF classes, I always have at least one class out of 12. I had 9 there because they had ridden a Rebel. So it's the gateway drug to motorcycling, and people want to move forward, but not all. So because Rebel in New York, at one point they were getting 1,000 new signups a day, and that's just a lot of people.
Andy, could you elaborate on what Rebel is? I don't think, I for sure don't know what you're talking about when you say Rebel.
I'm sorry, did you just ask me? Rebel is a scooter rental share program, similar to City Bike. Instead of City Bikes, there are scooters that don't go over 30 miles per hour.
Yeah, there's electric or combustion.
Electric.
Isn't that the one where the reporter got killed on just recently?
Exactly.
So there's another company in the US, it's called Lime or Lime Bikes, that's very similar. And I think this is pertinent. Actually was talking about it 2 years ago with Ray. And the reason is everywhere I traveled in Europe and Asia, in all the big cities, they have electric bicycles, electric scooters. And, you know, you walk up to it and with your phone, you kind of click the QR code and they charge you for the time that you're on it, and you take it wherever you go, and then you just park it and walk away, and your time is up and you've paid for it. And it seems like the major urban transportation mode of travel, at least in the rest of the world, who is a little bit more progressive on this than America. But they're also available in many cities across the United States, especially ones that have universities or colleges, and the college kids use them to get around. But the issue, just like in New York, is the safety issue where people are jumping on them ill-advised, ill-trained, and causing serious injuries.
So this is Belinda from Tuscaloosa. We down at the beach in our Gulf Shores area, we have a lot of the scooter stuff, and that's during our spring break. That's a big issue, is because you can just go and rent one and get on it and go, and they're really not supposed to. From what I understand, they're not really supposed to be on the street, but they ride them on the main streets, the little strip area, and then they ride up and down the other road. I know for a fact they're not supposed to be on. I mean, these are 13, 14-year-old kids that are in the car, that are in the road with major car, with big cars. It makes me nervous whenever I go down there and I see it. And I mean, I was that wild and crazy kid whenever I was when I was a teenager. That was the first thing we did. We chugged a couple of beers and got the little scooters, and we, and so that's what we did. And so it's an issue down here at the beach area.
I can't keep up now that Robin has distracted us all with the electric TT.
That's to make a very solid point there. I mean, I've been goofing off with this topic with Herheim over there for a minute, talking about how the batteries are going to get better and blah, blah, blah. And they're a torquey machine. I mean, they're not a lesser joke unless they insist on programming it to be a lesser joke. But that's some next level stuff that is more powerful than some people will expect. And if it's ill designed, it's got way more power than they might be equipped to handle. So I came in while Sirens, that's your first name? Help me out here.
That's my motorcycle club. I just when I logged on, I didn't realize that I still logged on to the club. The club's name was in there.
I will call you Miss Siren then. Miss Siren. So, if we look at what you're talking about regionally, and I always say this from traveling and coaching at different locations, but the fact is that we all know that different regions are going to have different requirements for what's necessary to support the cause, what's necessary to support the environment and the community. So I feel like, I'm from Chicago, a big city like that, not compared to New York, but at the same time, down the road cousin, you're going to have to, in some cases, you're going to have to accept the fact that you are stuck in your own tumbler. Your issues are going to be your own, and whatever, like I said, I arrived at the topic late, but whatever outside influence you're looking for, man, that city's so dense. There's so much internal action going on, and Chicago's the same way, where it's like, in the end, if Chicago can control it, Chicago will control it. So yeah, maybe that added something, maybe it didn't. I'm going to mute my mic now. Continue on.
Well, since none of the other three people who are on the Motorcycle Safety Advisory Committee in Wisconsin will talk about it, and I'm not on it, but I'll talk about it anyway. Wisconsin has the Motorcycle Safety Advisory Committee, and it's one of its purposes, or its main purpose, is to bring together people from a lot of different factions, anyone who might have a remote interest in motorcyclist safety, to figure out how to have all those factions represented and involved in the same goal. So there's someone from emergency services and law enforcement and education and engineering, all the different factions who are represented at the meetings. And I think it helps create dialogues, at least to one person. And I know the person who represents engineering on there, he takes information back from the meetings, and he tries to go to highway engineering types of conferences and meetings and do presentations on why thinking about motorcyclists on the highway is important.
I want to know what you always have great things to say, but I want to know what the takeaway is on that.
Well, one of the things that you missed, Robin, was that Don earlier was talking about how to get more people interested in motorcyclist safety. And I think that this program, and I would be willing to bet that other states have something similar. It's just a matter of how active they are and how well the representatives do at taking the information back to their various specialty areas.
Well, if we look at like how some of the there are situations where officers will collect would-be like they'll have drag races, and the police will sponsor these things and make it a possibility for people to go have a good time, and then they get to interact with their community. It becomes a good thing on all fronts. So knowing what the venue is, or that there are venues available for all these people that want to do these different crazy things, they gotta know that they're allowed to do this, that there's some place for them to go. And also it's like, if they want it to be competitive, fine, but I'll always tell students at the end of a course, you're gonna get scowled at. You're gonna get scowled at by somebody next to you just for being on the bike, and that's not your fault. It belongs to that's on somebody else's shoulders. But the fact is that you're going to get looked at negatively for being on a bike, and there is an outlet for everything you do. Please represent us well, right? There are stunting classes. You can even go into detail about it. You don't just like say it and then get on with it. Like, oh, okay, I said that. Now I've done something, quote unquote. That's air quoted. You know, if you're going to say it, you better be able to elaborate on that. Like, oh, are you feeling like a hooligan? Do you want to mess around? Do you want to learn how to do some things? Do you want to be a stunt person? I mean, you can go out and learn to be a stunter. If you get good at it, they may even bring you in the movies for it, but you still got to represent as well. These messages, how you deliver these messages, that's extremely important to bettering how we're looked at from the outside, from non-riders.
So I want to pass a message on to Miss Maggie Dean and tell her that, eventually she needs to be in this meeting.
Let me see if I can get her on. Hold on here.
We can't deal with you the whole time.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of hard to keep, have to deal with Robin all the time. Of course, I don't know if I even.
There are some things that
with me.
there are some things that people can get behind all over the country. I know here they just introduced a bill, loud pipes, addressing loud pipes again. But in part of the bill, they're threatening jail time for loud pipes. So if you read your AMA magazine and you see a call for letters or a petition comes out, I suggest that everybody put that, sign that. I know here we had checkpoints, and it's actually illegal federally to have checkpoints. Well, for federal money to be used for checkpoints. It's supposed to be illegal, and it's supposed to be on every level, every municipal level. But in New York, at least, they found that it is constitutional to have a vehicle-specific checkpoints. So we do get some harassment. So even if you're not the person who, you're geared up, right, and you're riding legally, just because you're on a bike, you're subject to be pulled over and just checked out. And so, that's something I think we all could get behind, because I have friends who come in from out of state. They're not required to have registration on their bike or sticker, and they're being threatened with tickets, even though it's not a requirement, or something is trivial as having a light over your license plate is not a law. It's a inspection requirement, but people are getting a ticket for it, or having a camera on your helmet. People are getting tickets for that. We had people who were getting tickets in the HOV lane. That's a federal law that we're allowed to be in the HOV lane. So when you see in the AMA magazine, or you get to see a petition online, please sign those petitions, because any harassment of any motorcycle anywhere, you can't ride your bike into your cul-de-sac, etc. We should all get behind that, because that's our reputation, the bad bikers, It's just not a patch thing when you see people complain about profiling.
I would agree, Sandra, probably violently, but we also need the people who continually fight for the rights of motorcyclists also have a message of motorcycle education, motorcycle safety, and not annoying other drivers, excuse me, and taking responsibility for the actions. Because if you are stunting on a public road, that's when they start looking for you. And then if they start looking for one individual, they're looking at all individuals.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get with that, is that
This is kind of what I'm getting at, is we have great resources with motorcycle rights organizations, motorcycle clubs, motorcycle associations, and why aren't we all communicating? And if there are things like Rita says about the motorcycle safety advisory boards, I know there's one in Kentucky, there's one in Wisconsin. Do they talk to each other from state to state so that we can communicate as a larger stakeholder for bigger issues like getting people to training and having safety renewal, meaning going back for more classes and holding people responsible for doing stupid stuff on public roads? So I know I'm on a soapbox again, but this has been a theme for this entire last week with some of my extraneous phone calls with people.
That's a necessary soapbox. I'm definitely not a loud pipes person. In fact, I think it does more to damage our reputation than anything. I do not believe that loud pipes save lives, but I have a problem with riding a bike with loud pipes is going to get you jail time. That I have a problem with.
Okay, but that's a you're talking about, like I said, if I were riding around in Chicago, I have a silencer. But when I'm riding around in the urban environment, I'll tell my students flat out, it's like, loud pipes won't save lives if they bring that up during a break, of course, because it's not in the curric. But if they bring that up, I'll be like, no, they don't save lives. I don't have loud pipes because, I want to save lives. I have loud pipes because I want to be a hooligan out there. But that's in the middle of nowhere. That's in the middle of with nobody around. That's does it scare off the deer? No, it doesn't scare. It's behind me. What? And plus, words of Scott Haas here. What do loud pipes look like? Deaf people can drive. What do they look like? You're not helping anybody with that. At the same time, do you want to meet Maggie Dean?
Yeah.
All right. Here, lady. You were live.
Oh.
Miss Maggie, come on, join the tribe here. We hear so much about you.
Thank goodness the smart
no.
help is talking.
Oh no. What has this guy said? Hello all.
Hello, Miss Maggie.
Hi.
You want my seat?
No. This is just my intro. I'm lurking here, and then I'll be back to work behind. What is the topic?
The topic is Maggie Dean needs to join the tribe talks.
I'm usually here sort of in spirit because I'm usually behind Robin as he talks to all of you, or talks at all of you, really.
You can't hear the other end of the conversation. What are you getting from it? You have to listen to him all the time. What about us?
I ask him for the highlights. He gives me the highlights, the 5-minute highlights afterwards. So
I can't even get him to do a 3-minute thesis. He gives you a 5-minute highlight.
I got time for that.
After he's been drinking heavily. Yes.
Yes, he can still hear all of you, by the way. So it's not the time to talk about him right now. Later.
No, we talk about it in front of him too. Doesn't matter if he's behind us. Right, Robin?
Yeah, that's his face. So, yeah, you get the full beauty all the time right there.
Well, behind every great man is a great woman.
That's right. The wind. No, I'm not going to say wind beneath the wings.
Make this stop.
There was a book. I feel like there was a book. Was it called The Hidden Power? And it was about the secret power of the presidents. It was the first ladies.
How does this relate to motorcycling?
I don't know. Let's get back on track here.
To the BRC. Everything relates to the BRC. Even the woman behind the man.
Yes, that's right.
Don't you forget it, mister. Okay, I'm gonna give this back to you.
Thanks.
It was nice to meet you all.
Ow. Fantastic. I mean, did you have a good time? I'm amped. Are you guys amped? That was awesome.
Well, I guess since Robin's back, I may have to get off now.
Bye, Dennis.
Did everybody read Mike's comment, and what are your thoughts?
We can't even get rider coaches to agree on a primary goal.
I think there is a primary goal.
I agree, there is a primary goal, but I think it was just that Rita just said we can't get rider coaches to agree to a primary goal. Because every rider coach would be different, especially in different states.
Okay, but why do we go about rider education? What's the premise? Why are we here?
I do it so I can be important.
The reason I started this was simply to get out of a honeydew list. I had another job.
I do that too, but I still get caught with honeydews.
None of these answers surprise me.
I think as motorcyclists, we understand the risks of operating a motorcycle as opposed to driving a car, and the passion that we have basically inside us, that the burning inside of us of motorcycling, you want to share that with other people. You want to pass on, whether you're passing it on to family or in this case, we're passing it on to public that's willing to sign up for a class. I think the other thing we're fighting is strictly just a numbers game, where in other countries the ratio of motorcyclists to cars may be higher than cars to motorcycles, and it's more accepted by society and culture that riding is just a part of life, a lot more a part of life than driving a car. So by being in a minority, because certainly cars dominate us in the numbers, it's an uphill battle to convince people that motorcyclists can be ridden with lower risk, and that education will help that. I'm going off a couple of different ways, but maybe somebody can gather some thoughts on that.
If we took away rider's education, just wiped it off of the map in the United States, what would happen? What do you presume would happen?
That's a hard question, because some of the studies that you see, even on the MSS website, will say that after 2 years, the effectiveness of rider education versus a person being taught by a friend is worse. So meaning, if you took a class for the first 2 years of your riding career, you're less likely to be in a crash. After 2 years, if you did not take a class and you were taught by a friend, your statistics are worse if you took a class.
Well, that's the reason why if you teach a B or C class, I always emphasize with my students, take an upper level class a year or two down the road and continue that education. How many of them do it? Heck, I don't know. Out of 12 students I may have in a class with a coach, we might get 1 or 2 that will come back and take an upper level class.
I would love for them to do more studies, because in Pennsylvania, it's offered free, the advanced class. And I wonder what their statistics are. Is it more effective given that they have more people who can have access to the class? I would love for some entity to do the studies on education.
If there's no call for the importance of rider education, what makes you think that somebody is going to take that money that Jason talked about and the value of it to do research on it.
I hope in San
This is
Francisco,
Jason.
San Francisco had a program where they were encouraging advanced rider education and offering free classes. They couldn't get people to sign up.
Hey, Jason who?
Harry.
Oh, no.
That's exactly how it should be, Robin. Jason, who it doesn't matter what the coaches' names are, they just show up, they have a good time. Hopefully we trick them into learning something and they go home and don't kill themselves or anybody else. I wonder, I mean, motorcycling, formal motorcycling education, you know, as far as I know, and I made some minuscule attempts to look back, and I can't find anything that happens before the MSF, which apparently is what, 1977? Am I right about that? Somebody's got to have the history on this. And motorcycling is 73. Sorry, and motorcycling existed since the early 1900s. So somebody cared enough about somebody else to show them something, whether it be formal or not. Education, trial by fire has apparently happened for many years before the MSF showed up. Of course, we didn't have those rules of the road and all the users and all the other things that come out today. Certainly didn't have urban riding like Sandra was talking about, where white lining it was a safer way. Heck, just, you know, try and stay out of the ruts and not die. But going back to those bikes that were kind of archaic, harder to use, definitely went slower, required maintenance. I saw it, and I'll bet you it was one of you that may have posted it somewhere on the MSF forum that said, you know, 50 years ago, there was a manual that came with your car that showed you how to adjust the valves, and now the book says don't drink the battery. That's how far we've come. It's now people are dumb, possibly too dumb to do this on their own, and need that extra hand. I would like to see everybody take motorcycling education and continue doing it because, number one, it benefits them. The socialist aspect is it benefits everybody else if you're going to be a road user. But I'm certainly on the fence about pushing for more legislation to require more training, because I think training is different than education.
Just subsidize it. Just subsidize it so it's not so expensive.
Well,
I know,
but
if you're telling me that
just subsidize it
in your area, why is subsidizing doesn't seem to be a problem if there's a wait list? You got to start by increasing the opportunity before you can even get to subsidizing. Because if people are still signed up and there's a wait list, there's no reason for me to subsidize anything until you show me that you can't get people there.
I think we have to change the culture of our social organizations. I know my club, the Sirens, in order to join, you had to have taken a safety class, and every 2 years the club subsidizes a safety class. This year we're taking YCRS, Yamaha Champion School street class. So last year did bike bonding. You know, we every 2 years we subsidize. So change the culture within our own social organizations.
That is pretty brilliant, but at the same time, that's also, again, it's regional. So, man, I don't have the mind to remember what I was talking about, but so like that's a location-based issue. And what Jason's saying is, like, you know, in Wisconsin, totally different state, there is a demand for this class. People are willing to pay for it. Illinois does have a state-funded program, and people will take it or they won't. What I was going to say is that, like, Jason, with the dumbing down, I actually don't believe in that. I think that some people, they just don't believe that they're capable of doing these things. They've never thought to open a battery and add water or anything like that, as a joking example. But it's like whether or not they have access to learning how to do something like that, or they have the desire to do so. That's a big part of it. And then, you know, dialing back to the issue that we've talked round and round on these events many times, how do you make these classes desirable for the new motorcyclist and the existing motorcyclist? I can't speak your praises enough to say that we are all trying. We are all trying to find the message that says, hey, come on back. Let's have a good time again. You know, that is a true to form thing that seems to be an obstacle for all of us, is how to convince others to return or to come learn new things, even from the get-go.
And that's
Can I address a couple of that?
Let me quick touch on something. I've talked to John Skala And the next Tribe Talk, we'll be discussing how to get people back for higher level courses or continuation courses. So look for an announcement for that in the next couple of weeks, but John's going to run that Tribe Talk. Okay, sorry, Keith first.
Thank you. Couple of things that Robin talked about and that Sandra has brought up. I'm in Massachusetts, different state than Wisconsin. But here in Massachusetts, if you complete the BRC, you get your license through the class. So there's an incentive there. The insurance companies here in Massachusetts will give you 10% off your compulsory insurance. There's an incentive there. Many, many years ago, there was legislation was passed that, and John Sears can tell me if I go wrong or not. I think it's $2 out of each motorcycle registration that goes towards the fund to help support the rider education here in Massachusetts. So you've got a couple of small things there, if you want to call it small things, but you've got a couple of things that have the incentive for people to take the courses. We're not cheap. We're $375 for the beginner course. Okay. But point is, with that, you've got your license, you've got an insurance incentive that's forever. It's not a one-shot deal. It's not a one-year deal. It's forever in Massachusetts. So will it eventually pay for itself? Yeah, I guess so. Or at least it'll cover part of your registration or whatever. So those are a couple of things that's happened here. The grassroots people that are here in Massachusetts, from the different survivor funds that are here, the abate type people that are here in Massachusetts are very, very strong in that they listen to the different motorcycle people. Sandra brought up, you've got the baggers, the sport guys, the stunters, the guys that just want to go cruising, the long haul riders, whatever it might be. These guys listen to everybody. The door's always open to listen to them. So my opinion is that it's got to be a grassroots. You've got to start locally in order to get it to build. Every state's going to be a little bit different. We've all got different topography. We've all got different weather, whatever it might be, congestion or whatever. So here in Massachusetts, again, just my recap is you got your license, you got a huge insurance discount, and part of your motorcycle registration does go into a fund to help support rider education. Also that they've done is for automobile education, there is a section in there that they do in the classes concerning motorcycles to help make them aware of us. So that's just my thoughts on it. I mean, Sandra, your initial requests or discussion was about, in the city itself. I drove through New York City once. I'll never do it again. I'm sorry. Not going to happen.
But it's fun.
No, it's not. Sorry, but no, it's not. My suggestion is, you've got to get a grassroots type of movement going, and it's obvious that you're trying to do that. We have a direct liaison for us with the registry here, with the DOT. I can call him anytime and ask him questions or help, for help or anything like that. You've got to be, it's not a one person that can do it, Sandra. You've got to get a group of people, get your sirens and people to be more involved in it. Put your local representatives on the motorcycle so that they get a feel of what's going on, what you're doing there. Give it a shot. I mean, what have you got to lose? Robin, you brought up some great points there. What's going on out in Chicago and, your thoughts on that. That's what we do here in Massachusetts. I've been doing it for 25 years, 26 years out here. John, you got what, 24, 25 this year? 26? You're muted, John, but anyways. So, if you've got the ability to get your local reps involved, to me, that's where you've got to start. You can't start at the top. You're not going to get Biden and those guys in here or your state senator in here to listen to you at all. You've got to start small and get those guys, get them rolling and get them involved and to believe in what you're doing, to what we're doing. That's just my thoughts. Thanks.
Yeah,
I think that's spot on.
We have some good organizations. We're working with the BATE. We're working with the New York City Motorcycle Scooter Safety Task Force. We have the AMA district person. We have the AMA national person who comes and lobbies with us. We lobby city council. We lobby state senate, state House of Representatives. We are all over the place. So we got a bunch of clubs that are involved. So no, it is. This is a group effort. I find the most difficult thing again is trying to get issues that everybody can get behind. Our main focus is education now. Our main focus is education. And we mimic Massachusetts with the cost and how that our registrations every year go into a trust, but that money is only to be used to educate car drivers about motorcycles. Ron, just say it again. Say it, Ron. Correct me. I'm fine.
I believe, Sandra, correct me if I'm wrong, that the motorcycle registration fees and driver's license fees that are targeted for it used to be a motorcycle fund, now it's the general fund, of course, simply goes to pay for the administration of the MSF program. Okay, so that's a question that we'll have to do some research on and see if that has changed. Fair enough?
You mean for the people who say come and do the site visits to pay for that body?
No. This is I think you and I, it's for the administration of the motorcycle program.
For the entire state.
For the entire state.
You want to head that up, Ron? And
yeah, because that's a lot of money to, I mean, does it take that, you know?
Oh yeah, I'm telling you it does.
Sandra, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You are a rider coach?
Yes.
SF certified rider coach?
Mm-hmm.
Have you considered trying to bring the New York site administrators into some type of communication with your group?
You know, I did bring it up. I brought it up at the last, we met at that hotel in Westchester. And I did mention what we were doing. I brought it up in one of the forums.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's more than just Westchester of New York State. So
yeah, but I did bring it up and I invited people to participate in what we were trying to do. We were really working hard on parking at that time in the city. And I only got one person in the entire big room, big auditorium who expressed any interest of participating or being involved.
Okay. I think you and I need to talk offline, my dear.
Okay.
Okay. I have your information. I know how to get a hold of you.
All right.
And you can do the same thing with me if you know exactly where to find the information, right?
Okay.
I want to ask Chris Horton from Colorado, because you're familiar with the military side of the house. What does the Department of Defense require all motorcyclists to do? And what, anecdotally, from your experience, has it done for rider education within the military?
So the military requirements across DoD are essentially take the BRC or some equivalent course based on training providers across 50 states, some basic level safety course. Following that, it is now every 5 years mandatory by DoD, following up with either the BRC2, either the license waiver or the skill practice version of that test, but the BRC2, and then for anybody non-sport bike riding, if you're on a sport bike or any sport style bike, they prefer you to take the military sport bike rider course every 5 years.
So just to clarify, BRC And within 12 months, you
Yeah.
have to do a BRC2 or
Or-
an
yes.
ARC, MSRC equivalent. And
Yes.
then after that, every 5 years, a refresher.
That is correct. Yes, Don.
Okay.
But so anecdotally, does it impact safety? So I spent probably the last 8 years of my military career as a senior advisor to commanders on motorcycle riding. Not until I actually got my certification a year and a half ago did it become more and more important about how we approach the instructional portion of it. But most sites only run level 1 training, which really doesn't get after, in my opinion, a lot of the level 2 type training, which I see as more beneficial for riders. Knowing that challenge, I prescribe my program to kind of get after a lot of that through our mentorship program, because at each echelon within the military, from our small units all the way up to large units, I kind of laid out a program where we could get after some of that mentorship, getting after a lot of that level 2 type stuff, how to build better perception, get out there and practice on the motorcycles, practice those skills, those basic level skills, not just at 10 miles an hour in a parking lot, but work up to building those skills in settings where you can get out and practice them at speed, braking, swerving, things of that nature. We saw over the last year, a little bit less of a decrease, an overall decrease in rider incidents because of that. So, but that's only 1 year's worth of data, and I'm not sure that's enough to suffice to say that it was working, but it seemed to be a metric in a positive direction anyway.
So I was involved with the military starting back a long time before that, but riding in the military heavily starting in 2009. 2011 was the initial rollout of the Department of Defense Instruction 6055.4 that instituted all this. At that time, it was a 3-year renewal, not a 5-year renewal. And after the first 3 years, there was a significant drop in casualty and injury because everybody was getting safety renewal. And I used safety renewal because I think that's the paper that was written and is posted in MSF's library for research. I think it's the best way to discuss kind of what Sandra discussed about the 12-month rule. After 12 months of having been a rider, after following a course, there's a tendency for people to slide back into old ways. And by sliding back into old ways, there's a thought that since I went to a BRC, I'm very knowledgeable and the risk offset changes. However, some research I read this week talks about if within that first year, you get them back to a second level course, then it's 3 to 5 years, just like the military's modeling here, before they start to slip. And so at 3 to 5 years, having another refresher course has a tendency to get people over the major injury or mortality rate bump, and then they continue to be good motorcyclists until they get old. And unfortunately, in the United States, unlike all the other countries in the world, our problem is not necessarily with novice riders anymore, because most novice riders do get some form of training. It happens to be the older population, which is an actual antithesis to driver's education. We kill them when they're old, they kill them when they're young. So what are your thoughts on that?
We need a 55 alive for motorcyclists. My mom used to teach that for AARP, to train the trainers.
Don, if I heard you right, basically we need currently BRC that many people get, you're looking at a booster shot at 12 to 18 months, and then you won't need another one until 5 years, and then you're good? Is that
12 months, and then somewhere between 3 and 5 years. And I'll find that. I read it this week. I have to get back into everything I've read and dig it back out. But that seems to be a general researched advocacy of how often refresher training needs to happen.
And you feel that that should be mandatory?
Well, I don't know about mandatory. I like to look at it as a type of graduated driver's license.
That's not a thing. So give me a better term. Give me better wording.
So first of all, think about all of the bad habits as rider coaches that we see in BRCs. First of all the bad habits, just the people that are there just to get their license. We're like you, Keith, here in Wisconsin. You take a BRC, we also put you through the skills evals. So we put you through the road test. And it's also just above $300. I don't even know what it is here. So those two things, we get people in there we get people in our BRCs who have been riding for 20 years, who maybe they're with a new mate or a new spouse who won't ride with them until they get their license. So we have all these people who have been illegal all these years that are just there just to get their license. Think about all the bad habits that we see.
Horrendous.
Life-saving, horrible bad habits. So that alone speaks to what you're speaking of, Don, the us older people.
It does, but it also ties to why, like, I love that Wisconsin allows for the PRC2s. You know, you can, in Texas too, you can ride your bike to them. Nobody's going to hound you about it. You can ride in, we'll keep it hush, but you're there to get your license. Kudos to you. But there are a lot of us who are continuing training all the time. So I'm sorry, I step between. Don, please respond. As you know, good stuff, Sarah. Nice.
Real quick though, Wisconsin has some of the
BRC2 just
greatest.
became waiverable. Go ahead. What'd you say, Keith?
I said Wisconsin has some of the greatest motorcycle videos, training videos, and commercials about taking the classes that I'd ever seen. We actually stole a couple of yours out here in Massachusetts and used them.
Taking a class?
Well, the videos that they did concerning driving under the influence and just the advantages of taking the motorcycle course. I guess they were like a public service announcement video that they did in Wisconsin. They were great.
I don't think I've ever seen one.
25 years ago.
Well, she was a teenager then. That's why.
Yeah, so was I. I had hair.
I guess that's why we need these advocacy groups, because that was 25 years ago. Time to bring it back. That stuff works.
Yeah, it was good stuff. I might still have it on like VHS or something.
So I haven't found it, but I'll read part of what I was reading here. Motorcyclists to be licensed for first on learner permit with restrictions prior to full licensure, including limits on engine size and carriage pylon passengers. Helmets are mandatory, and that's just a suggestion. But it says motorcyclists have been identified an overrepresentation of learner motorcyclists in their crash statistics. And this is an older paper, so that at the time was important. It's commensurate with Australian and international research identifying inexperience as a leading factor in motorcyclist crash fatalities. The process revealed strong support for improvements to the training curriculum for novice motorcyclists with an earlier review, this is that 12-month thing, identifying an over-reliance on the training of vehicle handling skills, motor skills versus behavior and attitudes, versus attitudinal skills. And so focus on awareness, judgment, and decision-making seem to be compromised. And this goes back to the discussion I think we had last week about the Victorian Road stuff that Lynn brought up. I'll find the other one and perhaps I'll get it to you, Laura, if I can find it. But the bottom line is there's research out there that says rider education works. There's also research out there that says maybe it doesn't. So out of those two, if I were to tell you, let's stop all riders education and see what happens, what do you think is going to happen with crash and mortality rates? It's just like the kids not going to school now that their F rates have gone up to 83%. You'll have an increase in the things that we don't want to increase. That is an assumption, but I don't want to be the guy that proves it either. So research does say that if we get back to them within that first year after taking their novice rider training and give them that renewal, they have developed some experience and they're not thinking about the basics anymore. They're thinking, hey, I think I got them. I think I have that skill, the motor skill to ride safely. But having that safety renewal at approximately 12 months or maybe a little bit before reminds them of all the things that they had forgotten about, and perhaps they should be reminded about safely having good behavior and attitude while riding a motorcycle. And so that refresher training gets them beyond the second hump into a time period where not only have they had training twice, but now they have commensurate experience with that training, riding the motorcycle, hopefully, that the decision-making process is getting better. It's the same reason why in almost every state in the United States, there is a type of graduated licensing for 16 to 18 years old to drive a car. But there isn't any for motorcyclists. To me, that's a contradiction that needs to be fixed. Thoughts? 12
to 18 months, would you also want to put a mileage suggestion in there with it? 3,000 miles, 5,000 miles, 2,000 miles?
There's no way to govern that. There's no way to actually take record of it.
No, but just as a suggestion. I mean, you're giving a range of 12 to 18 months. You could say between 2,000 and 4,000 miles. You're not going to mandate it. You're just making that as a suggestion that, you know, they're that comfortable on their motorcycle at that point that you're going to put them into, you know, an ERC or something along those lines, or a ride like a pro type class or something.
I would, first of all, just to be clear, I would not go over 12 months. I think your second training should be toward the end of the 12 months. That seems to be the magic number. And that holds true in driver training research. And that's why the graduated drivers licensing programs across the United States for cars is roughly in that 12-month time period.
Yeah, but that graduated licensing is a time limit that they're not supposed to be driving after midnight or 2 a.m. or whatever, or with other underage other underage people in the car. You're not telling them they can't go drive a Hemi Cuda.
But what that also does is it gives them a minimal time period of being documented mentorship on the car. And that's something that I'm kind of working through, and how do you translate that from driver's training to motorcycle rider training, because they have the experience of driving a car, maybe, hopefully. Not so much if you live in a big city and use public transportation, which could be another issue altogether.
Don,
I'm
I
not
like
con-
the idea.
That could be another big issue.
Go ahead, Mr. D.
I'm not
No,
convinced
he
that your
said
analogy
all
works
together.
there, Don.
What? Mike, say it again.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that your analogy for junior licenses for cars is relating to a structured licensing for motorcycles. I see it as two different subjects. I don't see them as being related.
Perhaps apples and oranges. But if we have a good model like the military presents that seems to reduce injuries and mortality rates because the time and effort is put into safety renewal, why wouldn't that be a great model to reduce casualties and mortality rates in the regular population?
It might be, but now you're talking legislation.
Perhaps.
Yeah, and I'm also going to say that, and I'm not trying to be the antagonist here. There's military and there's civilian. Completely different mindset, completely different student.
Maybe. What I'm giving you is options. I'm throwing stuff out there. And so before you say we can't do that, tell me what we can do. Give me options back. Tell me where there is another thing that will be easier to implement or work better than something that we know, unfortunately not researched enough, but we know works.
It's completely fair. It's completely fair.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I've been practicing.
You know, just on the basis of this little bit of information that you're putting out now, I mean, I'm seeing opportunities within the context of the BRC to cite some of this stuff and encourage that return trip. Because frankly, it's a hard sell on the BRC2s, you know, that aren't for licensing benefits. It's tough to get people back in, but if we discuss that up front, that, you know, there's this 1 year mark and you know, that things go stagnant and, you know, there's an opportunity for some reinforcement there, I think.
I will also throw out there, and these are documents I haven't got through yet because I had a huge download of information today from a couple people. Who is familiar with AMVA, MVA? Nobody? Okay. Just like the 2005 NHTSA document that I was talking about earlier. I'm trying to bring up my references here real quick. Apologize for my not having them ready already.
Don, while you're looking for that, I'll just throw in what we've done out here in Washington this year.
Please do.
Is the BRC is not a license waiver class anymore, effective the 1st of 2020. The BRC only qualifies you for an instruction permit, which is then good for 180 days. You have to come back and retest at a higher standard to get your full endorsement. And what we offer for that second higher standard is the BRC2. That's the class that would go with that would expose them to the higher speeds and the higher testing standard that we expect to get their endorsement. So that makes the BRC2 a little bit of an easier sell.
But does that sound like the better regional solution? Did that seem to help in that particular location?
The jury is still out. They made that change to the program the 1st of this year. So we'll see what the data looks like in a couple of years and see
John,
what
remind
changed.
me, is Washington a mandatory training state? I don't remember.
It's not a mandatory training state. Excuse me. You don't have to take the class. You can just show up and do the testing. But the schools administer the tests. The state doesn't do testing of any kind.
Can I throw something out?
Go ahead.
What about different different types of training and encouraging that. For instance, here we have a group of guys that do Gymkhana. Folks in familiar with Gymkhana?
Yeah, we do that out here too.
Right, you got Gymkhana, you got folks that go to the track, you have the people who do the police style. I wish that we could somehow push these social activities and maybe encourage competitions or somehow. And I think that that's something that the AMA can do, or if there be some way, there's some organization, or even, when we, at the end of the class, I try to get people to consider making it a hobby, and by going to training. I mean, it's something that my club does. Like I said, we do track together, we do the Gymkhana and the whole nine. But I'm wondering how we could find a way to make it, for lack of a better word, sexy, something that folks really want to get involved in. And it's really improving their writing skills. That's why one of the things we're pursuing with our advisory council is a place of practice, because Gymkhana, they meet at 6:30 a.m. at Floyd Bennett Field just to not get kicked out. Even when our club does our parking lot brush out day, they're kicking us out. They're running us away. So, you have skateboard parks. Why not have motorcycle parks,
I love all those ideas, but what I will say is some of the writing that is done in these extraneous, non-educational, but competition type organizations, it's great until they try to take that on the road, and then we can see problems. If there's clarity between, hey, if you really want to be a good rider, you have to practice like these people, but also ride properly on the road, I see no problem with it. And you know what? They're successful because they charge people to be involved with that stuff. And there is a competition. And it doesn't help everybody in the global picture of motorcycling. Absolutely. And I think that's a great avenue. I think Robin has brought that up before, the extracurricular. I know Lynn has brought that up before. Extracurricular riding can improve us as motorcyclists.
Gymkhana is free.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sandra brings up a good point, though, that like really one of the things we haven't had fun talking about yet is how to maintain the cool factor while we're coaching without overstepping lines that go into the bad influence factor. And that's a hard thing to do. You can do it so you can dial back in if you get your feet wet and jump back into the what is responsible and what's not. But
well, I think if we pull them in, if those stakeholders are involved, if we push people toward them to improve their writing, and they agree to say, this is a form of writing, please remember that when you're on the road, drive with respect to all the other people on the road. I think there's a great advantage for a mutual relationship.
Yeah, but who's speaking to the students? That's the hard part. So, I bring up being able to connect with your audience as best as possible. And if no student wants to come out, sit down and hear somebody say like, well, hey, everybody, is everybody ready? Is everybody ready for some motorcycle safety? It doesn't enter, that's a humorous front that I'm trying to play just to say like, keeping the cool in the mix without it being on your terms.
Well, the people that are really good at riding understand the value of riders' education and having good risk offset while you're on the road, not crossing the line, except for filtering, Sandra. I'll throw that in for you.
Wait, are you talking about stunning? I'm not talking about stunning.
I think stunting.
I'm not talking about a stunt part. I mean, I'm a little lost there.
I'm talking about their cool factor.
No. I'm asking John because he was mentioning, is it responsible? When if you look at Gymkhana, I mean, that's responsible riding, or even the police style riding. It's responsible. And Gymkhana is free. You just throw down some cut in half tennis balls you know, blue to go left, red to go right, and folks can do whatever in a very small area. So, you know, these things could be free.
You're introducing this as free. Wait until the first person falls down and there's a lawsuit. That changes.
Again, use the model of a skateboard park.
Unless you have some sort of legislation to make that okay to begin with, nothing is free.
Use
Even
the
for
model of
you
a jungle gym.
and I don't mean like you as an individual, but to say that, you know, hey, our training, like Illinois, hey, training's free. It still costs people time out of their life that they somehow prioritize differently. We have to appeal to all those people to, it's not about free, it's about value. So the Gymkhana folks, by all means, super neat idea. It's great. It could be low cost. It depends on if you want to be organized or if you want to do it on your own.
And what kind of protections you need, where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, how much that's going to cost, what it's going to go. I like the idea of no cost motorcycle training, but on the other hand, when I talk to people about coming to the multiple venues that I get the privilege of working with, you are paying for feedback. That is the only thing that motorcycle, to me, I'm sure you all have your own ideas, but if I'm going to pay for something, the whole idea, if I'm paying Don to teach me something, it's going to be feedback, because chances are I can read a book and try my best, but without that feedback, I won't be able to get to that level I'm hoping for. And Gymkhana could be it. It could be the police style stuff, that whatever floats your boat, man. It could be literally anything, but if I'm paying money, it's for feedback to help me achieve a goal. And for our general customers, they don't have that goal. They don't know yet.
No money. This is no money. How I got involved in all this stuff is with
to ride a motorcycle, to insure a motorcycle, to pay for a motorcycle. It costs for tires. It costs for money hanging away from my kids.
Okay, are you guys familiar with that European model? Was it the IAM, the Institute of Motorcycle Association, right? That they have where somebody takes you out like 10 times or so, and at the end you go out with a police officer, and then they give you an advanced motorcycle certificate. So the reason I got involved in this stuff was the guy I know from London, where we were talking about trying to bring that here. Not going to happen. Not going to happen, because everybody thinks they need to get paid. Where this is not instruction. It's how you get around the insurance part is you're not teaching. It's peer. It's like AA, right? In AA you say, I'm sharing my experience, strength, and hope. I'm not your teacher. I'll tell you what works for me. Right? It's not teaching. This is not for money. This is just to keep people safe, give them a place to practice. It's like public tennis courts. We're not giving instruction.
Okay.
I can't, yeah. Totally different model.
I think your model is the exception, not the norm.
Exactly. Trying to introduce something new, given the limitations and the difficulty of insurance, etc. That's why many people don't open up their own little schools. I had a long conversation with the guy who did streetskills.net. You know, he has the online class, wonderful class over the you guys are laughing, but my club sisters love it.
They're laughing.
We did it over the winter. We loved it. During the pandemic.
Sandra. The reason we're laughing is we know John personally. I've ridden with John for about 15 years now, and Ron goes even further back. So we know John personally. He is. I watch his videos also. I get his newsletter every month. I know John personally. He's a lot of fun. That's why we're laughing. That's why we're laughing. So just
I think how could you not know John and live in the New York area? But it's like over the pandemic, it was something that kept the club going. You know, we met every Tuesday night and we went over it. We did it as a group, you know, so
we're at my 2-hour limit here. I wanted to quick relay to everybody. AAMVA is the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators. So it's kind of a predecessor to SMSA for motorcycles. And so they have delved into this information quite a bit. As usual, I will post all this stuff out in the RiderChoices reference library if you want to take a gander at it, just because I've posted a lot in the last day or so. I haven't got it all out there yet. But something to think about. As I shut down for the evening, any 3-minute thesis takers yet? Oh, it's so quiet in here.
I actually did one. Don, I'm actually putting one together.
Are
So,
you?
Yep. I've done with tonight. Tonight was my last night of class. And so I'm kind of freed up on that, than making Christmas gifts. But yes, so I have one that I'm working on. And so, yeah.
Awesome. I look forward to it. You hear that, Jason? She's got one.
Hey, Jason. Jason, nice job, buddy. Good video.
Video. What? Uh-oh. What? I have no idea what Ron's talking about video.
Oh, yes, you do.
You're being voluntold. Remember what that's like?
Nope. No, nothing. I was excited about hearing whatever Belinda would present because she is a great presenter and has good presence. But I don't know what the hell Ron's talking about.
Y'all didn't see the link that I posted in the chat.
There's
Okay.
house music.
I saw it
in
and started
bed.
watching it.
And you're
Now
on
I'm
there. It's
watching.
great.
What kind of crap is this?
I don't know.
Oh, Jesus Christ, not that. That's not good.
All right.
Nobody wants to watch that crap.
So for
Thanks a lot.
those that are aware, program administrators work group tomorrow, 1300 hours. That's 1 p.m. Eastern for you non-military folk. Other than that, I'll see you next week on Tribe Talk Happy Hours. Really great conversations tonight. Thank you for getting me thinking and let me get out some of my thoughts. Any parting shots, like at Robin or something?
Bring it.
Where you going to post that study?
Under RiderChoices.com, under Rider Coaches, there is a reference library. And I sent you an email a little bit ago, Sandra, so you can contact me if you have problems getting in, okay?
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome. Awesome. Happy Wednesday. Remember that I love you, not in the wrong way, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Don. Thanks for putting this stuff on.
Oh, I just love the fun.